it's Kristen, and this is the 12 Days of Christmas book tag. So this tag was created by Ashley at Falling Down the Book Hole, and it's essentially just applying bookish questions to all of the days in the 12 Days of Christmas song. So I have my questions on here, so if I'm looking down here, that's what I'm looking at. So, question 1, a partridge in a pear tree. The partridge stood alone, so what is your favourite standalone? For me, the most recent book I gave 5 stars, which actually was like a couple of years ago now, was Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This is one I didn't think that I would like as much as I did. It involves 2 young women in their 20s, and they meet this like writer couple, married couple who are older, and they sort of become entwined in their lives, and affairs happen. Didn't think I'd love it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it. Sally Rooney's not for everyone, so I feel like you either like Sally Rooney or you really don't. I like Sally Rooney, so this is my most recent favourite standalone, so I'm going to go with this one. 2 is Two Turtle Doves, Love is in the Air, who is your one true pairing, so like your favourite book couple. I have 2 options here, so the first is Jessie and Suze from the Mediator series. I read this series as a teen and I loved it. I loved Jessie and Suze. So Suze is someone who is known as a mediator, and she can see ghosts, and she moves with her family to a new house, and she goes into her bedroom and discovers that there is the ghost of a young attractive man living in her bedroom, who is Jessie. And it spans like 6 books in the original series, and they just have a very flirtatious, or they won't they, relationship throughout, and I was a sucker for it as a teenager, and in my mind they're still like one of my ultimate book pairings, because they had an impact on me when I was young. And then again, a couple that I loved as a teenager is Katza and Poe from the Graceling series. Katza has a thing called a grace, which give like special abilities that people have. People have different graces. Katza's grace is that she's really good at fighting, and so she's got to go off on this mission, and a guy from another kingdom ends up joining her, and his name is Poe, and they have this sort of like bantery relationship, but I really love them because they both really like respect each other and their skills and powers and just thoughts and opinions, and now talking about this makes me want to reread these series. Yeah, Katza and Poe was like one of the first book pairings I really fell in love with as a teenager, so yeah, they're one of my OTPs, I guess. Question 3, Three French Hens. In the spirit of threes, what is the best trilogy you've read? Well, originally Graceling was a trilogy. It was Graceling, Fire and Bitter Blue, but since then, in the past few years, a couple of more books have come out. So the original trilogy, Graceling, Fire, Bitter Blue, I read them so many times. I loved this trilogy. It's just powers, warring kingdoms, political intrigue, strong, powerful female characters, good romances. Loved it. Need to reread the trilogy and then carry on with the series. Also with that trilogy, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then Good Girl Bad Blood, and then As Good as Dead. That trilogy, even though there's also a novella in there, but the actual trilogy is so good. This is a YA like crime thriller. We have Pip, our main character, who is doing a project for school, and she decides to look into the case of a girl in the town where she lives who was killed years ago, and everyone thinks that it was her boyfriend who did it, and then he also died, so they think that he killed his girlfriend and then killed himself. But Pip does not think that that's the case, and so she decides to investigate herself. It's a great series. Question 4. 4 Calling Birds. Series usually consist of 4 or more books. What is your favourite series? I struggle with this. I don't read a ton of series. So if we're going like favourite series that have had an impact on me in my life, then we're back to the Mediator series. I just loved this. It's, Sue's talking to ghosts, trying to help them pass on, occasionally having to kick some ghost butt because they're like vengeful spirits. It's just very fun and a good like paranormal romp. It was great. I loved it. Question 5. 1 ring to rule them all. Who is your favourite villain or antagonist? So again, a couple of options here. I'm going to say Mrs. Coulter from the His Dark Materials series. She's this great, very antagonistic woman who like tries to play both sides of things. She's very manipulative, very controlling. I think she's such a great complex female character, and going off from the book slightly, if you watch the TV series, she's played by Ruth Wilson, who does an incredible job. I really loved her as Mrs. Coulter, so I recommend the books and the show. Then further to antagonistic people, the men in Jane Austen novels who are like the bad men, so not your Mr. Darcy's, Mr. Bingley's, Mr. Knightley's, but the Willoughby, Wickham, John Thorpe kind of characters. I love to hate on a Jane Austen man. There's just something very like sinister about some of them in the way that they manipulate women and can get away with it often without many repercussions, or they still fit into society, they still have power over the women. Just Jane Austen men who are not the romantic interests. Next we have 6 Geese a Laying. Creation is a beautiful thing. What is your favourite world or world building? Something I really enjoyed recently in a book I read this year in The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I really enjoyed, in terms of world building, the magic system in this book. So the magic system is based off like fairy tales and nursery rhymes and stories that women told, and within the stories or phrases or songs there are spells woven into the lyrics and things like that, and I just thought that was a really cool clever way of doing the magic. So each chapter starts with a little spell written down relating often to the content of the chapter. So there's like sugar and spice and everything nice, a spell to soothe a bad temper requiring a pinch of sugar and spring sunshine, or may sticks and stones break your bones and serpents stop your heart, a spell to poison requiring fangs and fury. I just really loved the world building magic system in here. I thought it was great. Next we have 7 Swans Swimming. Who needs 7 swans when all it takes is one good animal sidekick? Who is your favourite animal sidekick? And I'm going to go back to the His Dark Materials series and say that Pantaleimon is my favourite animal sidekick. So in this world, everyone has a demon that is like an animal representation of like your soul and your spirit. And Lyra, our main character, has Pantaleimon as her demon, and when you're a child your demon can change different shapes and be different animals, and then as you get older, it settles into one being, and yeah, settles on one animal that it is. Pantaleon can talk to Lyra and she can talk to him, and he's just a really lovely little character within these books, so he's probably my favourite animal companion in a book. Next we have Eight Maids a Milking, which book or series takes beverages or food to a whole new level. I really couldn't think of one for this, so I'm just going to say a book that I would like to have at some point. There is a cocktail making book, so it's not a fictional book, a cocktail recipe book called Nectar of the Gods, which just does cocktails inspired by Greek mythology, and I think that's such a fun concept. I love Greek mythology, I love cocktails, so the combination of the two, perfect. Then we have Nine Ladies Dancing. Who is your favourite kick-ass female lead? I'm going back to Graceling by Kristen Cashore. Katza, I love Katza. She's physically strong, she's great at fighting, great at surviving, but I think we also see like a lot of emotional growth from her, and a lot of emotional and mental strength throughout the novel. She had a hard life. She's like living as an assassin, even though she doesn't really want to, but people know that she's good at like killing essentially, so she's used in ways that she doesn't want to be, and I think, yeah, we see a lot of mental and emotional strength and growth from her throughout the book, so she's one of my favourite kick-ass female characters. And then going back to something I've already talked about, Pip, our main character in Good Girls Guide to Murder series, is so clever, so resourceful, clever to a worrying point in some aspects, especially in the third book, but she really, again, has like a real emotional strength in the way that she like cares about people and about finding out the truth and things like that, even when she is like emotionally having breakdowns and is not in a good mental state. I think she is just an incredible character, and I think Holly Jackson created such a wonderful character in Pip, and I really love her, and I think she's great, so she's one of my favourite heroines in recent years in books that I've read. Number 10, 10 Lords Are Leaping. Who is your favourite leading lad? So he's not the main character, because Pip is, but Ravi, who is Pip's sort of accomplice, he's the brother of the boy that everyone thinks killed the teenage girl, but he believes that his brother's innocent. Pip believes that his brother is innocent, so he goes along with her on her investigations, and Ravi is one of my all-time favourite like book boys. He's very funny, he cares so much about Pip, he's so supportive, he's like ride or die for Pip. I think he's just such a wonderful character, so I really enjoy him in this series. And then going back to the His Dark Material series, Will appears in the second book for the first time and is in the third book, and Will is this young boy who gets pulled into the mysteries of this greater world of His Dark Material series, and he is such an interesting character. He really has a lot to deal with as a child, and again, he's quite funny in like a sassy sort of way for a little boy, but his relationship with Lyra is one of my favourite things in the entire series. He he's like ready to like kill people. Just, he is always down for a fight, which I quite enjoy. But I also worry because he's just a child. Again, in the TV show version of it, the boy who plays Will is so good. The kids in that show are so talented. Will just like had my heart from the start, and yeah, it's one of those series where I'm just like, love those kids, even though in real life kids not hugely my thing. Love the kids. Will is such a great character. 11 Piper's Piping. What is your favourite book or bookish thing that deals with music? I had to think about this one for a while, and eventually I ended up thinking of Amy Rogers' Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. So Amy's family is moving and she has been asked to drive the car across the country, and her family decide to sort out with another family who have Roger in their family. He's going to college, and so they make this deal that Amy will drive Roger cross country to college, and they can take it in turns driving, and it'll be easier that way. They'll have company, all sorted. And throughout this book there are playlists that the characters write for each other, and are written out in the book and are like actual songs. So theoretically you could go through the book, create each playlist and listen to them while reading the book. But this is the first one that came to my mind when I thought music, because music, road trip playlist, like you've got to have a good playlist for a road trip, and I liked that this included that as like a mixed media element. Finally, we have 12 drummers drumming. Drum roll please. What is your favourite read of the year? So far it's The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. This is a Norse mythology retelling about Angrboda, who is a witch, and she goes through a lot. But this sort of takes place after a horrific thing has happened to her. She's been like reborn almost, and she meets Loki, the trickster god. And so this is about her and her relationship with Loki and the magic children they have and their lives and the troubles that they have with the gods, and about Angrboda like re-finding her magic and things like that. And it's just quite a quiet story for a lot of it, of just Angrboda and her like home life, but set in this like wider context of like warring gods. So yeah, there's parts of this that are quite slow, and then the end is kind of like wild magic, death, like end of the world kind of stuff. But I just really enjoyed this one. I thought Angrboda was an interesting character. I liked seeing her reclaim her power, refind her magic. I really enjoyed her relationship with Loki. It was very complex, but in the early days their banter's really cute, and actually makes makes you invested in them even when things start to go wrong. I thought her relationships with her children, given that they're not normal children, is very interesting. Her relationships with other characters like Skadi, who's a friend of hers, is great. I just really liked the relationship dynamics between lots of the characters, and this book made me cry at the end. Not like massively sobbing, but just like the culmination of it, everything happening in the plot, just like a few silent tears. But yeah, this was great. If you like Norse mythology, if you like mythology retellings, if you like books centered on women's lives, women reclaiming power, women in like almost hopeless situations trying to fight back. Yeah, this is a book I would recommend. I read it earlier in the year and it's one that's really stuck with me, so that's probably my favourite book of the year so far, even though there's like a week left of the year. So yeah, that is it. Those were all the questions in the 12 Days of Christmas tag. If you want to leave below how you would answer any of these questions, do tell. What is your favourite book of the year? Let me know that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!